Hello my bookish besties and welcome back in. As you probably saw by the title of this video, I thought today would be fun to do a little bit of a romance books for non-romance girlies or people, we don't discriminate around here, reading recommendation video. Happy season of love. I have been reading so many romances recently, which if you know me, that's crazy bonkers, wild, silly, goofy, because I am like a vocal non-romance person. Like, I can't really stand romance books. In fact, I was going to do a reading vlog earlier this month that was going to be themed around romance hater reads romance books for a week, and I only read them for like 2 days. And also when I was reading them, I didn't have any reactions that were fun to film. So alas, this is a little bit of a compromise. We are going to discuss some of the romance books that I've loved. Some of them are non-traditional romances, you know. Like I said, I don't love romance books, so I have a list here of a couple of books that are romances, but they have something else going for them, which is why I think they are perfect for the reader who doesn't love romance. So before we get started with the recommendations, I do want to do a quick little shout out. This video is not sponsored, but I do have a new brand ambassador code with Letters and Lucy. I will insert some footage of me browsing around the website. If you don't know about Letters and Lucy, they are a local to me but ships online store that sells bookish and just like fangirl creative merch. It's so cute. Actually, I have one of my items right here. This is my Mamma Mia t-shirt from them. I love Mamma Mia. Like, it's probably my all-time favorite movie, so obviously I had to get this shirt. But yeah, I do have a brand ambassador code with them, so if you would like to browse their website and get some really cutie merch, I have a link down in the description, or I will put my ambassador code here on the screen. It is just Buff8Fee Reads, I believe. I'll double check, but it's also in the description. So, but like I mentioned, if you want to get anything, I do earn a small commission, not sponsored or anything, but I would love for you guys to check them out. It is one of my good friends' stores. So, anywho. Oh, also, like the pink book club sweatshirt that I wear all the time, it's from them as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the recommendations. The first book on this list is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The reason I would recommend this for non-romance readers or fantasy girlies like myself is this does have the undertone of the fantasy element. It is basically about a girl who sold her soul to the devil, essentially, and because of that nobody remembers her, and because of that she can't find love. But one day she meets a guy who does remember her, and this book is beautifully written, and like I said, it has that little bit of like fantasy element to it. It is really good. This is one of those books though that I do fear is divisive. Like, you either love it or you really don't like it. Personally, I really loved it. I liked the magical realism aspects. I really liked the writing and the poetry, and I like books like this where they kind of make you think. Like, it made me think in a depressing way, and I like that. Next, I would recommend The Unmaking of June Farrow. This is by Adrienne Young. Again, this is a magical realism romance, so we have a little bit of that like magical fantasy vibe, but it follows June Farrow as she is trying to discover herself, but is also trying not to lose herself because her family is cursed and all of the women in the family go crazy. So she is thinking her curse is approaching, and she, you know, stuff happens to where she needs to just figure out her life. This is one of those like non-traditional romances. There's definitely romance in here, but I don't think that's the main focus of this plot. I loved this book a lot. I did bawl my eyes out. So go into it knowing that. Next we have The Dead Romantics. This is by Ashley. Why did I say her name like that? This is by Ashley Poston or Poston. Not really sure, but it's Ashley. Not Ashley. Anywho, this is one of my absolute favorite books to recommend to literally anybody. This book is a romance. Like, to its core, it is a traditional, fluffy, kick your feet, giggly romance, but this book has an amazing exploration of grief. Basically, our main character, I forgot her name, Florence. Our main character, Florence. How could I forget Florence? I've read this book 3 times. Her new editor and her have some life-changing things that happen to them, and they fall in love, but that is not the main theme of this book. The main theme, like I said, is an exploration of grief. I think it is beautifully done. I've read this 3 separate times, and each time it hit me differently. Highly recommend, but maybe don't read if you're sensitive to familial death. Next, we have The Conditions of Will. This is by Jessa Hastings. I have said this before on this channel, but I'm going to say it again. I don't support Jessa Hastings, but I do have to give flowers where flowers are due. This book, like, fundamentally changed me as a person. And again, I just think it's one of those romance books that, like, it's about romance, but there's so much more to it. Again, there is a exploration of grief. We deal with religious trauma. We deal with, you know, sexual identity, and I think this book is profound and very groundbreaking, and as someone who, you know, doesn't really know where they stand with religion and God sometimes, this book really, really, really hit home on that aspect, and I really appreciate it, and I would recommend it. And the love in here is really good too. Obviously, this is a romance recommendations, but I like that this one isn't traditional, and it kind of, like I mentioned, explores some heavier topics that doesn't make it feel like it's just a, you know, your traditional romance. You know the one. Next, we have this cutie little YA romance called Dungeons and Drama. Basically, she runs, or no, let's backtrack. She is in band, I believe, and he plays Dungeons and Dragons. And she gets in trouble, and her dad owns a board game store that he, like, plays D&D at, and she has to join their game because of, like, her punishment. Oh, it's not that she sings. She loves musicals. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me just read this to you because I have it a little bit wrong. It says, no one loves musicals more than Riley Morris. Her dream is to be a Broadway director, but when the spring show is canceled, Riley has to figure out a way to bring it back. Easier said than done. She's stuck working at her father's game store, the place that means more to him than his family does. Riley can't waste time at a dead-end job when her entire future is resting on making a name for herself. So she convinces her coworker, the floppy-haired, glasses-wearing guy she barely knows from school, to help her. In exchange, she'll help him make his gamer girl crush jealous. Plus, it won't hurt to show her egotistical ex-Paul what he's missing without her. Soon, Riley and Nathan are a couple, and people seem to believe it. But selling the ruse means joining Nathan's role-playing game. To Riley's surprise, the game is almost fun, and even more surprising, flirting with Nathan doesn't quite require as much acting as she thought it would. This book was so cutie. I read it in a day. Obviously, I'd recommend it to D&D/fantasy readers. I read this, like, pretty soon after I finished my Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, and let me just say that that is, like, that itch, you know? I read this on Valentine's Day back in 2024. It's super cute. There is 2 more books in the series. I don't know how many are going to be planned, but the next one is Datings and Dragons, and then there is a new one coming out, I think this May, called Rules and Rivalry, and they're just cute. They're simple. Like I said, they're a little YA romance, but this does kind of scratch that fantasy loving itch. And I really liked it. I thought it was fun. It reminded me a lot of my high school experience because my dad, fun fact, is a board game fanatic, and I went to a fine arts high school, so I just really related to Riley and to Nathan a little bit. So yeah, definitely would recommend this book. It's a little bit untraditional because it does follow the gaming aspect pretty heavy, but I do recommend. And then last but not least, we have Daisy Jones and the Six. This is one of my all-time favorite love stories, but it is crazy. It is toxic. It is heartbreaking. It is a non-traditional romance. Like, if you know anything about the romance in this story, obviously it is toxic and unhealthy and a little bit crazy, but this book is so fun. It is so good. The TV show, even better. I'm so obsessed with the TV show. I've seen it 3 times through now, but my copy is so dirty. Why didn't y'all tell me? Ew, this is a used copy I got from the library sale, but anywho, what I was saying is, this book, it is, I hate when the libraries put these covers on it because this cover is looking a little crusty. We might do something about this. This was just a shelf copy, okay? But anywho, again, what I was saying is, this is one of those non-traditional romances in the sense that, like, Daisy and Billy are in a band, but Billy is married. But Billy and Daisy have this undeniable chemistry that's making the band better. And if you don't know anything else about Daisy Jones and the Six, basically this follows the band and their journey like 20 years later after they broke up for unforeseen reasons that I'm sure you can guess because it's super dramatic and it's like a love story, like I said. But anywho, again, this falls in that category of non-traditional romances that I would definitely recommend for the non-romance reader who wants a taste of romance without the, silly, goofy, kick your feet, bubbly romances that most people read. That being said, we do also obviously have the obvious answers, in my opinion, of Emily Henry, Allie Hazelwood, Christina Lauren, Karen Bastone. She's a newer one that I've discovered that I really, really like. I've also recently discovered Sarah Adams that I really like. And then Abby Jimenez and Lynn Painter. But all of those are very traditional romances. The idea was to give non-traditional romances. But I did want to go ahead and shout out the Girly Pops because they also fall into that category of non-traditional romances. Like, if you don't know something about Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez by now, I'd be shocked. But most people describe them as women's fiction meets romance. So they could also work if you're looking for a non-traditional romance. Same with Allie Hazelwood. She focuses on STEM romance, but hers do lean a little heavier into that traditional rom-com feeling. So do Christina Lauren's books, the ones I've read, but they have good vibes to them. I like them. I don't know how to describe them other than they're on my list of approved romance authors. But anywho, those are my recommendations for some non-traditional romances for people who probably don't usually read romance books. Let me know down in the comments below what is your favorite romance story, whether that's a story like these that is romance but real world-esque, or if it's a romance that happens in a fantasy setting, any type of romance.